Hi guys, welcome to Material Mondays. So, I've been away for a while. I took a break. My mother passed away and I just needed some time to reflect. We just had her funeral in August. So, yeah, I think you do have to, with anything, you do have to just kind of take time to make sense of things. Anyway, so whilst I was away, this is what I was doing. I was working with, I've got a little travel kit, and that's what I want to show you today. And I'll show you what I was working on whilst I was away. And it might be that you decide you want to create a travel kit for yourself, that in those times where you don't either have the resources around you to be creative, you can at least do something. It doesn't have to involve lots of paint or, and water and stuff. Anyway, so but in terms of the and in terms of the fabric where we can dye things, and but it's a heavy cotton, and I wrote lots of encouraging words, and this was actually a really lovely thing that I needed. We were dealing with grief of losing our mum, but I was then able to speak encouraging words to myself. We remembered her memory, we remembered all the things that she means to us. And so this is a nice activity to do, and next week I will be working on one and you can work along with it, and we will be adding additional words, some of the same words, and it's good to just be, it was nice to just as I'm stitching beautiful and blessed, or creativity, vision, and you can write whatever words you want, so that then you can just meditate on those things, like shine your light. The one I hadn't decided whether I wanted this to be like just full and just leave it like this, or I wanted to cut round it and use it as smaller pieces in additional work, so I'd have to cut round them. And today we'll just finish this piece off, and we've got a word here, that grace, that we haven't done. Okay. So let's have a look at what I've got in the kit. So I always have from now, so I found this such a useful activity, I will always have a plain cloth that I can just be doing some straight stitching in. I've got some additional pieces that I did some stitching in, and I'll show you those in a minute. Okay, but let's look at this. So this is the main body of my kit, and all it is, it's a piece of it's felted, two different colours felted, and it's got a border around it. Now it was actually, it had I think it had beads stitched on, and I took them off, okay, because it was just like, oh my gosh, this is ideal for traveling and holding pins and stuff like that. So as you can see, I've got several pins, needles, sorry, that I'm using, and they will be able to be used on different thicknesses of cloth. But some of the work that I'm actually doing, I've still got some of the needles in them. So needles are fairly inexpensive, and so if I haven't finished a piece, I'll just leave those needles in there, and then if I want to work on something else, then I will. And I've got a selection of threads. I've got a little scissors here. I've got some pins to help well, we know what the pins are doing. And then I've got a variety of different embroidery threads. I've got 2 blacks because I get through the blacks quite quickly, so I'll always have more than one. And again, if I'm traveling, then it's useful to know that I don't have to like go out and buy any. And then I've got white here, I've got yellow and blue. So I just took a selection of threads, and then on here I've got some reds. And there's a black there as well, yellow. So I try and just keep just a few colours. And this is, you know, these colours are more than enough. And if I was working on a particular project that you used another colour, then obviously I would place it in here and go on my travels. As I'm in my studio, I've got some drawers with different embroidery threads, but as I say, this is for when I'm either travelling or if I'm, like, you know, next door in the front room sitting down, or I take this with me sort of like in the car. If I'm going somewhere and say maybe I know that I'm going to be waiting a long time, I might take this and do some of the pieces. So let's have a look at some of the pieces. And so the other thing, oh yeah, before I show you that, is the embroidery hoop. I've just got a small one here. Let's see what it measures. It's 8, yes, it's 8 inches. And then I've got another one which is 12 and 14. I've got a small one, but it's trapped at the moment on my shelf. Okay, so let us look at some of these pieces. So some of these pieces, you may have seen some of the techniques that I've used for them. So they're dyed pieces, dyed different cotton. This is the same fabric as the this, but it's just been wax resist. And this one's been dyed with clay, this one's conventional dye, and these are all conventional dyes apart from this one. This one was dyed with clay. And when you use wax on the fabric, putting the needle through is a joy. It's like really nice and smooth. Okay, so I've also got some, this is, I can't remember what it's called, but I can iron edges and it will stay. So it's like a glue. When you heat it, it sticks the fabric together, if you don't know. But if you do know, then you'll know what it's called. Okay, so I have, what I did to put this together was just take a selection of fabric, as I say, that I had worked on. Some I've stitched. So these pieces here were ones that I'd worked on while I was away, and just added just some straight stitching. And again, it was nice if I didn't feel like working on the words, then I could just, you know, work on these. These now, like this particular one, it's quite thick and it's been painted, so it was difficult for me to get the needle through. So what I'm going to do is use the machine and then add some more stitching to it. And this was just like a few straight lines that I did. I've got fabric that I've used fabric markers on. This is another dyed one. It's got a pattern on it already, and then I added, this is dyed with avocado seed. Sorry, I created a paste with the avocado, just because I did this a while ago. Created a paste with the avocado, and I will be sharing some of those. And then I just added this to here, allowed it to dry, and then dried it in the sun. and it's stained the fabric. So I can't quite decide whether I want to add like stitching around these shapes, or whether I just want to come in with stitching, or whether I want to cut it up and use it in that way. So I've kind of just left it for the moment. And then I've got pieces that have been painted, and I cut these up just so that I could, some of them have got stencils on, but they've all used fabric paint, and then I did some writing on them, and so they will be either used as a backing, or, as I say, I might cut them up and then use them in other pieces. And then these ones I had put together different pieces of fabric and used the pins just to, you know, okay, well these lot, I'll be able to just stitch this. You know, again, if you don't want to have to put them together, like these ones that are left are ones that have not yet got a home with each other. So yeah, as I say, I had put a few together randomly just to say, okay, we'll stitch this and see how you feel. And then I've got other pieces here that are like, this has been painted, this is wax resist, different textures, avocado print, this has got stencil on. So a range of fabric, as I say, that I can dip into, like small pieces that if you just want to do something simple. This is a thin material that has been wax resist, and then I cut it up, and then I've got more of my avocado seed dyed fabric here, and that's a thicker fabric. So again, using different textures of fabric, using different types of fabric. Cotton comes, like you've got this heavy cotton, then you've got a lighter cotton. These tea towels you can pick up. You can pick up tea towels very cheaply now, just white, and then use them to either dye right on and create, you know, some really nice, interesting backgrounds, so that you can, you know, just work on different projects. And sometimes, again, the thing to do is, like, you know, I've got this selection, so just, you know, randomly choose, and don't kind of spend too long like thinking, oh, does this go? Because by the time you've added this and maybe that, and maybe even that, and then added some stitching on, whilst individually you just think, okay, no, these, maybe they don't go, you can make them, you can pick up colours, you know, I can pick up red and put it in here, and the blues and some of these colours, and incorporate them. So don't be afraid just to kind of play with what you have, and that's what I'm going to do with these. So that's why they're in my travel kit, so that I've got a nice selection of things that I can work on. And then I've got a bigger piece here, which is a selection of dyed pieces, painted, and then I've added like a fabric glitter glue, and then I've stitched pieces together. So these are 3 pieces, different fabrics that have been stitched together, and now I'm kind of making, bringing it together using stitch. This is, because of the paint on them, I found that it was quite heavy and my needle bent, so then I thought, well, let me just take it to the sewing machine and then just add some additional stitching, and then decide what I want to do with it. Okay, so to finish off, I'm going to finish this piece off, And as I say, next week we'll make a new one, and and so we'll have that to be able to, and we'll add some words and some phrases on there. And I had drawn in blue, so I'm going to see, you might be able to see the blue through there, but what I would normally do is go faintly with either a black pen, fine liner, or if I'm using blue thread then it's fine, but because it's yellow you might see it. So I'm just gonna work on this, and as I say, it's a nice way to just relax and just take your time being mindful and thinking about the word. I think that's a really nice activity to do. Just think about the word that you're stitching around and how it applies to your life. Okay, so come back next week and we will be making a new one of these, and I'll probably be selecting some different colours for that one. So I'll be updating the threads in my travel kit. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope you share with me what you're doing. Share with me on Instagram. All the links are in the description.